So United have just hired a new CEO in what continues to be the biggest shake-up at the club in nearly 20 years. Omar Berrada has come in from Manchester City, but what is he all about? What will he do for Manchester United, and how can he make us successful again? Who is Omar Berrada? Well, let's look at his last job. He was the CFO, or Chief Football Operations Officer, at City Football Group, which the clue is in the title. They own Manchester City and 12 other football clubs around the world, including Girona, who are currently top of La Liga, and of course New York City Football Club, to name but a couple. And the interesting thing about all of this is he was so highly rated. He was someone that was expected to take Txiki Begiristain's role when he moved on, and also even had an eye on that CEO role behind Ferran Soriano, who was currently occupying that spot. So he joined City in 2011, and he had a variety of different roles all the way up to COO before he then took that step into a senior role of the City Group itself, like we said before, that CFOO role that he had been occupying until United came in for him. Basically, he's someone that had worked his way up through the ranks and had impressed at every single level. And as much as it pains me to say it, you don't get toward the top at Manchester City without having some successes on your resume. Everyone at Manchester City has a lot of successes on their resume, and if you don't, they will get rid of you. So United had identified their target in Omar Berrada. He has come to the club, but the next question is, what does a CEO even do? So the CEO is crucial in joining the two branches of a football club. One branch is the footballing department, and that includes the players, the manager, contract negotiations, even things like transfer negotiations. And the other side is pretty much everything else. That is sponsorships, infrastructure, the day-to-day workings of a company that employs well over 1,000 different people in one form or another. There's a hell of a lot that goes into being a CEO, and what he has to do is not just bring those two things together, but make sure that everything within those two branches is working as effectively as it possibly can. It's about being at the top of your game and also making sure everyone underneath you is also at the top of their game. Now, he's got a reputation when it comes to players of only giving people a 1 or 2 year basically grace period. If you don't impress us within a year or two, you are not at the club. I wonder if he will bring that level of strictness and that level of scrutiny to every part of Manchester United. And if you contrast Berrada's level of detail and scrutiny with Ed Woodward, basically the CEO we've had for the majority of the last decade, you see the absolute stark difference there. One is a person who has a footballing background, who has worked in football for a number of years, who has proven themselves to be very good at their job before being given extra responsibilities within the same world. The other person, Ed Woodward, is a banker who was thrust into the top of Manchester United because he helped facilitate the purchase of the club for the Glazers back in 2005. He is someone that's, we've spoken about Ed Woodward so much on this channel. We know the wrongdoings. We know the fact that he was woefully ill-equipped to do the job that he was asked to do and that he wanted to do at Manchester United. And finally, it looks as though we have someone who not just has done the job before, which you'd think would be the basic requirement of a person being hired at Manchester United, but he's done it. And again, I might be saying this phrase a lot, it pains me to say it, he's done it at the very top of the footballing pyramid with Manchester City. The things they've won in the last decade are matched by no club in the world except maybe Real Madrid. So what exactly does this mean for Manchester United? Well, Omar Berrada's arrival at the minute is a bit of an unknown. In terms of the day-to-day, we can look at what he's done at Manchester City, we can look at how he's spoken in interviews, how he's spoken on camera in the past, and we can try to infer different things about how he will act at Manchester United. But what we do know is this is a big change in terms of the power structures at Manchester United. We heard on December the 24th that Ineos would come in and would take control of the footballing department at Manchester United. But as I've just said before, the CEO isn't just about the footballing department. He is the person who sews together every single part of the club. And the fact that Ineos had such a big hand in this, which they did, this was an Ineos appointment that was then approved by the Glazers, who of course still own the majority share of Manchester United. All they did was basically put a tick next to his name. The research, the scouting, and based on the reports that we're seeing in The Athletic, the entire approach was an Ineos approach. That is massive, because that means that, Ineos aren't just here to go, oh, we want a new manager, or here's a player that might be good. They clearly have their hand in every bit of Manchester United, and now they've got their own person in. They've got someone that they trust in. this is a massive step towards the Glazers having just a little bit less control, and maybe one day having no control and no say whatsoever at Manchester United. But I do think it's crucial to point out that this is yes, it's footballing in one sense, but this is by no means an entirely footballing appointment, and yet it was made primarily by Ineos. That is an absolutely massive thing. And here's an interesting stat as well out of The Athletic. Following Martin Edwards, Peter Kenyon, David Gill, Ed Woodward and Richard Arnold, and of course Patrick Stewart as interim, Berrada will be the first United CEO that we have hired externally rather than promoting someone from within in their existing role. Maybe on one hand you can look at that and say, oh no, United are departing from their traditional ways, this isn't what United do, this isn't a good thing. But I think on the other hand you look at a decision and someone coming from within only works if there are people within the club who are up to the job. You know, we know for a fact David Gill was up to the job. We know for a fact Ed Woodward wasn't. And clearly part of their review of the club and Ineos have come in and decided there's no one in this club that is good enough to do the job that we need to get Manchester United back where they need to be. And they've gone with Berrada. And for me, that is a good thing. You know, it's nice to be able to promote from within where you can. You know the person, you know how they interact, you know that they know the club. These are all great things. But there isn't necessarily the right person for the job in-house. That isn't always the case. And I think especially when the Glazers in the past had been picking, even if the right person was knocking about, it was Ed Woodward who got the call because he helped them out a few years earlier. To me, the fact that he comes from Manchester City, you know, is as close as you're going to get to proven at Premier League level. He can do this. He can do the job that he is being given at Manchester United, and hopefully we will see some big changes coming very, very shortly. So what's next then? So the first thing Berrada has to do is get in at Manchester United and actually look at what is going on. It has been basically carnage for a decade or more at Manchester United, and what we need now is for him, is for Ineos and as little as the Glazers as possible to come up with a workable model for Manchester United. What is Manchester United? What will it be when Ten Hag goes? What will it be when Fergie's no longer involved in the club? What will it be when Rashford leaves? What will it be 5, 10, 15 years down the line? Because for the last decade we've lurched from a Van Gaal to a Jose to a Ole to a Ten Hag. We don't know what we are, and every time someone fails, we turn the other way, turn a full 180 and try something else. We need to establish the core principles of Manchester United. We know some of them. We know what Matt Busby's done. We know what Sir Alex Ferguson's done. But this has to be a sustainable model for the future. And this is just the beginning as well. This is the thing to remember. We've got a CEO. We've got new owners above that. But below that, there are still those gaps to fill in. There's still the sporting director. There's still the head of recruitment. Is the manager's job still at play here? And of course, on the pitch, the transfers will come as well. But for me, this is an absolutely massive building block at Manchester United, and one that maybe we won't see changes in 2, 3, 4 weeks. Maybe we won't see them in 6 months. But 2, 3 years down the line, when United have been consistently making good decisions and astute decisions, we might just start to see what is currently a skeleton reanimate and become the force that we once were. Hopefully, this can be a step in the right direction. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.